You can never escape. Abusuya former Auditor General Domelevo Ababonten Edin Sembi Ababetuja Awosen Ken Ofori ni case chese ice for ensa etumi asunimu ewo USA abonten so chese Ken Ofori ontumi escape yes ne illegal crimes waye entino onimsa the US for no onyoma omode ni befam wo ho no enka better se obeba Ghana ono ankasa ebesaranda na waba Ghana na ebusua nasema odi tuja no asem bia former Auditor General oyobia na dwene edo na ocha even kra no Akuffo former president of Ghana hasi inti adint na Ken Ofori omba na omba me face justice inti no in the next 10 days Ken Ofori ebekwa akopimo ewo court ewo USA abonten so na Domelevo nsema de tuja no me yenko na yenkonkoti ensema ekọ so unsubscribe ya subscribe like na share ma afofron so ensa into me enkabi Ghana Politics Avenue so and don't forget to click on the notification bell so na any update be ever dropping on onsa ebetumi aka bedamase.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Greetings to your panel.
Thank you very much for joining us as well. Now, we just quickly on the latest with Ken Ofori, the update we have from the Deputy Attorney General. He's with us in the studio, by the way. Dr. Adam Shemsai is here. He has just given us some updates that one, as a matter of fact, Ken Ofori had his visa revoked sometime in June 2025, and from that period till just 4 days ago when he was picked up by ICE in what appeared to have been a targeted operation based on what we also got from Manasseh Azura and confirmed by the Attorney General. And from now, he would have, in the next 10 days, an opportunity to have his day in court. Now, you've been asking questions of accountability of serving and persons who have served this country. How does this development of Ken Ofori's detention get to you, specifically on the matter of how this case has traveled right from January last year till now that he has been detained by ICE?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm very sure there are a lot of legal brains with you there to go into the details of it. But I find it very unfortunate that a prominent person like that, a former Minister of Finance, should be detained in the US after they revoked his visa. I think the right thing to do immediately your visa is revoked is to just take off, leave the country, come back home. And well, I know that if he arrives in Ghana, he may be arrested, he may be put before court, etc. But then it is a very temporary process whereby after being granted bail, you are a free person. You cannot go to court and defend yourself. Because I'm saying this because nobody should ever think that he or she can assume public office and will not or will escape accountability. So I think if he had taken the decision, which to me is still not too late, to come back to Ghana and just face it. If he has done nothing wrong, there is nothing for him to fear. If you come, of course, he will be arrested, I think, and I'm sure they will also grant him bail, and then he fights it and clean his name. I think it's better than to be languishing in the jail of a foreign country, and you don't know what your status is going to be one day. It will be sad to see our former minister being handcuffed, put inside a plane, and being deported to the country. So my view is that, well, it is a bit more legal than ordinary. From my commoner point of view, I would have wished that he just come and face it, and so that they don't keep him in jail. I don't think is the best thing to do.
Well, but with what is happening now, we understand. Well, he would have his day in court in 10 days. Actually, that's information we have on this.
Yes, in 10 days, will he be granted bail before then?
Well, that we don't know. No,
Yes, so if
been
no,
detained.
then it means he's going to be in detention at least for 10 days.
That's true.
Which to me is not the best. I'm not sure if he comes to Ghana, they are going to detain him for 10 days. Maybe a day or two, something like that, he will have been granted bail. And of course, I know he's someone who can meet the bail conditions. He has a lot of colleagues and friends who can easily stand in for him. So I think that will have been easier. And mind you, if he's going to have his day in court, it doesn't mean once he appeared in court, that is the end. What about if the judge remands him and say, go and come back in a month's time? So he will continue being in jail. Is that not it?
Yes. That's what it is, actually. But you say he brought this upon himself, you're saying, essentially?
Yes, of course. Because once you're a public servant, you must be ready to. All of us, we left office. The former presidents leave office. In fact, President Nana Akuffo is still in Ghana. And almost all of the other former government appointees, they are in Ghana. So if he had come back after the treatment, or especially when the visa was revoked, in fact, once your visa is revoked, it means that your status has become illegal. You don't have the permit or the right to stay. If I were here, I would have just said, okay, if I don't have the right, I take off. Or maybe try another country if he has visas for other countries, which I'm told he does. So try another country. But to stay there and now being put locked up, and we say in 10 days you have his day in court, that is also not certain that once you go to court, the court is going to say free him or extend his stay, etc. I don't find it good. I would have wished that he bites the bullet, comes over, allow government to do whatever they wanted to do. Some of us, we knew. I, for instance, I've always thought that government was going to persecute me when I left office. And they did. Several investigations. They didn't find anything. At the end of the day, I'm free. So you don't run away from some of these things, except if you are not sure, except if you don't want to be in a public office. If you want to be in public office, you must know it comes with accountability.
And Domelevo, stay with me on this. Quite a number of questions. The Deputy Attorney General may have to leave us at some point, but there are a few questions. Dr. Semsai, this is to you. Quickly. First, Lawyer Kofi Bento is watching us. Good morning to you, Mr. Bento. He says, one, will Ofori be detained automatically if he comes to Ghana to stand trial? That's number one. You want to?
I mean, he obviously will be arrested upon entry.
But detention is subject.
And then you will go through the processes of, like anyone else, seeking bail. Bail will be granted if necessary, and then the trial will continue.
I see, and he asks why not grant him bail like any other because he's entitled to it.
But if you don't arrest him, how do you grant bail?
Bail is discretionary.
You arrest him first, then he applies for bail. Bail is considered and granted based on the facts.
Yeah, let's not change our laws.
And so asking is it absolutely necessary to detain him throughout his trial?
No, but no one is interested in detaining anyone throughout the trial.
Nobody does.
But when you are facing trial, you'll be arrested, you'll be charged. You then
detention
apply
or
for
otherwise
bail.
doesn't rest with the Attorney General. Detention doesn't rest with the Attorney General.
It rests with the judge. Let him finish. Because he gives a background to it, that by law, the trial can proceed without Ken Ofori or with him on bail. Again, by law, the presence of the accused is optional and may be dispensed with by the judge. So, if that's the case, why is there so much focus on coming if it is not for the purpose of humiliation?
It is not the judge that will dispense with the trial. The judge will offer you a platform to defend yourself. You may accept
the law of
the law. Then you may
and then you may waive that right.
You may accept it or you may waive it.
When you waive it, it doesn't also stop the prosecution from continuing.
All right.
And indeed, in the beginning of the trial, his presence is not that necessary to facilitate the prosecution, because the prosecution witnesses could be cross-examined by counsel of the accused person. To a point, I've done a case where somebody was tried in absentia. His lawyers cross-examined the prosecution witnesses. At the end of the prosecution's case, the lawyer filed a submission of no case, which was upheld by the court.
Okay.
And the accused person was discharged. So it is not critical that the accused person is not in court prior to the prosecution. It is even at the point that we go beyond the submission of no case and that prosecution ought to open, defense has to open its defense. Even there, the defense may even elect not to get him to speak. In fact, if you bring the accused person even in court, he has a right to remain silent also. Okay. And he may exercise that right. And that does not frustrate the prosecution in any way.
Well, Deputy, you want to add anything to?
No, I just want to make the point that let's not make suggestions which will mean that we are changing the law in favor of one person. The standard is set already. When you are accused of a crime, you are first arrested. When you are arrested, you are arraigned before a court, your plea is taken, then you apply for bail. The judge will consider the bail based on the factual situation. And the purpose of the bail is to ensure that you are available to attend the court proceedings or to be at the trial. So it cannot be that even before he comes, the AG will decide that we are not going to detain. Once we hand him over to the court, the accused person, as we say, is now the court's accused person, not the AG's accused person.
Right.
And everything that goes on there is between the accused person and the judge. And the AG will also make prayer, just as an accused person will make a prayer. But what we cannot do, we don't even have the power to do, is to say that we are not going to present him to the court, we are not going to arrest him, or we are not going to, because you need to arrest him to be able to even charge him.
I see. Well, so on this matter of how the case will proceed going forward,
Yes,
because there's heightened expectation as to what would happen next after his detention.
you see, in all criminal prosecutions,
Kubi says we need you back home, so come back.
no, Uncle, but he was jailed.
My visa has not yet been revoked.
Be careful.
I'll make that application for you.
Please go ahead. I would like to come. And before the end of next week, I'll be back in Ghana, so don't worry.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, you had indicated that even if Ken Ofori-Atta comes, you have a challenge with our jurisprudence and the fact that it would probably take a long while even to get justice, because the lawyers know the weaknesses and nuances in the system to take advantage of and prolong this case even beyond the period that Ghanaians can tolerate. Why is that?
Yes, I think our history has taught us that in almost all these high-profile financial crimes or economic corruption and corruption-related cases, the trials take forever. And I've been wondering whether it is misplaced in law to put a time frame on trials of this type of cases. I know that we must give the accused all the chance or opportunity to defend him or herself. But sorry for crying aloud, 1 or 2 years should be enough. But some of these cases travel 4 years, 5 years, even 7 or more years. And I don't really know what it is. And to be very honest with you, I find it very frustrating. When I was in office, I was going to court most of the time. I leave my busy schedule, go to court. And at times the judge simply calls my lawyer and the other lawyer, and the case is adjourned. And I say, so if you knew you were not going to meet, you have just informed us that you have fixed a new date. You don't waste our time. Sometimes the case will be heard 15, 20 minutes time, is adjourned to the next 2 or 3 months. I don't really get it. I don't know why they cannot take a case and run with it. I'm very much aware that, yes, of course, there may be times that they need to adjourn or take a break so that some things can be filed or some evidences, etc., can be brought in. But the trials take too long for my liking. And I think if it is doable, well, it is not a good example, though. But if you see what happened to the former Agri Minister of China, the trial took less than 3 months, and they were done. China is so efficient. Ghana cannot do the same. So why don't we say even 2 years for trial of this type of cases? Is 2 years not enough for the prosecution and the accused to come out with all they are say that they want to have in court? If we don't do this, my worry is that once this type of cases or this particular one hits the court, the lawyers are going to do everything possible to keep the case in court until their prayer is heard by God one day. There's a change in government. Then the next thing we will hear is not the prosecutor. We are no more interested. And it ends there. We must bring finality to this type of cases. I don't think it is the right thing to do. Well, it may be wrong in law, but in my personal thinking, there must be a time frame within which justice must be delivered.
And I would get a quick response from the Deputy Attorney General on this. His proposal is that to the extent that we've seen that cases run 6 years. I mean, the Dr. Puni case, 6 years on, and then there's a change in government, you see a nolle prosequa, and that this should not continue. He's proposing some time limit to such cases involving politically exposed persons, so that if it's 2 years, 2 years, if Ken Ofori comes and we still have the weaknesses, the nuances you spoke about earlier, we could see this case travel the long haul, which will be years.
Yes, so a number of factors contribute to the length of a case in court. The rules of courts is one. The offense being prosecuted is another, and also the judge himself. All these factors contribute to lawyers. And the lawyers indeed. So merely abridging the time will not solve the problem. We need to have in place other rules of court. So, for example, I think the previous Attorney General was in the process of having a law enacted which would take away interlocutory appeals in criminal matter until after the close of the case for the prosecution.
Right.
In other jurisdictions, you don't get the opportunity to be appealing when the case until the prosecution closes its case. So you pile up all your appeals. When the prosecution is done, then you can have one appeal. But in our jurisdiction, you can appeal every ruling. And there could be about 3 rulings in a day. And you could appeal any of them. And any of them can give you the chance to file a stay of proceedings and have the proceedings actually stayed until the appeal is determined. And the appeal could go up to Supreme Court and review level. So we have to, first of all, look at the rules. Then also the judge. There are some judges who handle their courts in a way that within the shortest possible time, they will have the case, concluded. And there are other judges too who adopt a different methodology to their trial in such a way that it lasts longer than that. So you have to look at the judges and the training as well. And then the offense itself. Some offenses are just simple to prove, and there isn't much you can do about that. Others too are so nuanced that you need a number of witnesses, tendering several documents and other evidence which would make the trial so prolonged. So it's a combination of these factors. So what I'm saying is that merely making a law to say the trial must conclude within 6 months or within 1 year doesn't solve the problem. And indeed, before a trial starts, by the new rules, the judge must have a timetable. And if you look at all initial timetables, they don't go beyond 1 year. They will tell you, in January we have this, the prosecution will close this case. But when the reality starts, that 1 year becomes meaningless and it goes to 2 years, 3 years, and as we have seen, how many years? 6 years in some cases. Some cases take forever until the evidence itself, and evidence is fungible. Evidence can deteriorate or even get lost. So as a defense lawyer, your strategy really is to keep the case in law for long, for evidence to disappear, and then you have your way.
You are revealing, you are
Okay, abusia we ne ensema ekoso e political highway ni so Ken Ofori and a former Auditor General Domelevo and Honsem Odebetuja or a member of the Ora team ono and yet and can better master some Japan Kokotisa and some way at the MI Ghana Politics Avenue. So and don't forget to click on the notification bells and any update be ever drop once every to me aka madam.